Today, I would like to talk about comparison. What makes me compare myself to others? What are the negative effects of comparison? What is the significant turning point that helps me gradually reduce this compulsive tendency? To me, comparison is an innate human nature. This unhealthy habit comes from a lack of self confidence and a low self esteem. In addition, comparison is a feedback loop. The more I compare myself to others, the more insecure I feel about myself. Once I begin down that road, I never find an end. Feeling like I can measure up, it leads me to focus externally and to be overly concerned with what others are doing, what they achieve, what they have, why they are doing better than me, and on it goes. When I subconsciously compare myself with others, I focus on where I stand relative to them, ahead versus behind, better versus worse, superior versus inferior, winner versus loser, success versus failure, young versus old, and so on. How unwise it is for me to often compare their best features against my average ones. Indeed, comparison is a mindset that starts very early. This tendency plays out throughout my life. Surprisingly, I have discovered there is an infinite number of categories upon which I can compare myself and an almost infinite number of people to compare myself to. At home, I blame it on my younger brother, who is the only boy and the youngest amidst five girls in my family and the center of my attention. When I was preparing this talk, I was able to see at the very young age how the seed of jealousy were embedded in my mind when I saw only my brother receive the present from my relatives, as well as the seed of resentment toward them who hold bias against female. As a result, I vowed to excel in school so that people wouldn't look down on women. I even had a deep wish to be reborn as a male in my future lives as a passive way to protect against gender inequality. At school, I compare with my classmates about grades, test scores, awards, and sports. Later at work, I compare myself to my colleagues on other matrices, job title, income level, education level, promotion, holidays, and worldly success. Then, after I ordain, I can see clearly that I compare with my fellow monastic all day long in terms of seniority, perfect attendance, room size, office space, number of chores, computer devices, skill and talents, you name it. So next, what are the negative effects of comparison? They are wide and far-reaching with numerous shortcomings. By comparing, I allow more room for the negative feelings of jealousy, bitterness, and resentment to breed and disturb my mind. When I compare myself to others, I fall into the trap of making myself feel inferior to them. It leads me to devalue myself or others, especially my dignity, my integrity, my passion. I have nothing to gain but too much to lose. When I, constant my, when I constantly compare myself to others, I waste my precious energy focusing on others people's life rather than my own. Indeed, it does rob me of my precious time and my precious human life. Comparison deprives me of joy and a recipe of unhappiness. As Theodore Roosevelt famously said, comparison is the thief of joy. It has no value, meaning, or fulfilling in my mind, in my life. It only distracts from it, and it can take me totally off track from where I need to be. Feeling insecure about myself all the time, the harmful effects of comparison can take a toll on every aspect of my life, from my physical health and emotional well-being to my Dharma practice, study, meditation, and my personal and spiritual development and growth. Furthermore, comparison can carry me to an extreme. As a winner, I become arrogant and complacent, as well as being unreceptive to learning and to improving myself. Another extreme, as a loser, I experience what I call the 3D syndromes: depression, disappointment, and discouragement. Last but not least, as a monastic, if I'm not aware of getting up in the equally concerns, I am easily being sucked into the trend of comparing myself to others. So the worst and the most dangerous result of comparison is that it makes me completely overlook my beginner mind and my monastic aspirations and weaken my potential to attain my spiritual goal for full awakening. Lastly, you might wonder what is the turning point that helped me reduce this compulsive tendency. As I recall, when I first joined the Abbey community, I knew very limited Buddhist vocabularies in English. So I have a great admiration for several residents who can lead the reviews, the discussion group, the morning practice, or give the BBC. At the same time, I was jealous of their ability and their Dharma knowledge. For the first few years, I felt I was a loser because I was unable to do what others were doing. In addition, I also felt very discouraged because I had a hard time following the debate class. So, however, one day while I was meditating in the morning session during the winter retreat 2 years ago, I realized that I did not do well in that class because I did not invest my time and energy in it, as well as I was not interested in that subject. Right at that moment, I felt like a wall of confusion and doubt about my capacity collapse, and I experienced a very bright openness in my mind, a big energy shift, and a huge relief in me. It seems this small realization has helped me believe in myself and feel more confident. Since that time, I have more focused, more internally than externally, and have reduced my instinctive habit to compare and compete to others. I'm less anxious about what my fellow monastics accomplish or achieve. So as I mentioned at the beginning of my talk, I'm happy I no longer wish to be reborn as a male. In conclusion, I would like to use the image of the tree that I learned from Verbodeki on our way back from the forest swamp 2 weeks ago. If you look closely when you are in the forest, those very tall, skinny, and unhealthy trees, which grow very close to each other, can defend themselves from disease because they are too busy competing for sunlight and nutrients. They hardly grow any branches at all. This is the beautiful analogy as well as a good reminder for myself to avoid comparing and competing to others as much as I can because I don't want to be like those trees. I hope you will find the tree analogy helpful as well. Thank you for listening.